Beats here from Pop Turn is speaking to festival director Michael Stewart about the Blood in the Snow Horror Movie Film Festival in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the show, sir. Thanks so much for being here.
Great. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Absolutely. You know, it's calm before the storm right now. We're a couple of days away from the festival. What is that kind of year to year? Because it's like, the festival's going to wrap and then it's like, boom, on to the next year, right? Do people realize that sometimes, that it's like a full year? Like after it wraps, the 24th it wraps, right? Or
23rd is the last day.
23rd, and then the 24th, the prep starts like a little bit, if you think about it, for the next year.
You're one of the few people that have gotten that, actually. Yeah, because that's because the number one question or comment, I should say, people tell me at closing night, they're we're clinking drinks, it's over, and they're like, oh, you must be so glad you can just relax now.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, no, actually, no. One, I got to come back tomorrow and clean up and pack everything up with my, for the next 2 days, and then there's all the and there's probably like a whole other month after the fest is over where you're just kind of finishing things up, and then you're right back into
there's like the post-mortem of that festival that just happened, and then boom, absolutely. We will get into the lineup because there's some incredible films I want to talk to you about. I find it very interesting because the timing of this festival is really cool to me, Kelly, because of the fact that spooky season starts for a lot of people in October, and there's a lot of horror movie festivals in October. Blood in the Snow is the end of November, right before December. I find it interesting because horror movies are becoming very popular. Spooky season all around. What can you tell me about the decision to make it, end of November? And what do you think about the fact that it is becoming a spooky season all year long? I find that interesting. Do you think about that at all these years?
Yeah, and it's interesting. It goes back to the beginning of how by accident almost this festival started. So if I explain kind of the context of how it started, it'll explain why it was in November. And it was just really, it was no big, there was no, I'm going to look at a calendar and go, when's the best time to have this festival? It really happened much more organically than that. So back in 2012, I was just hosting a movie night at this little grindhouse cinema called The Projection Booth, an old silent house kind of thing. And back then I was doing a bit of film writing, for Fangoria and a couple of Toronto blogs kind of thing and stuff. So I was just trying to get my name out there at the time, and I was looking, that was the direction I was going in back then. And I was just started doing this monthly night called just Fright Nights at the Projection Booth. And I did that for about a year, and it really did take off. We actually did the Battle Royale had never played in Toronto theatrically, and I was the first one to screen it, and we packed the place. So it was kind of a big deal. That kind of put me on the map. But then a lot of Canadian, but I was playing everything. I was playing like Boris Karloff movies and stuff. I was just playing anything that I felt like playing. And then every once in a while I would play some Canadian independent stuff. And then around midsummer, I had about a bunch of filmmakers come to me going, Kelly, I didn't get into Fantasia. I didn't get into Toronto After Dark. Would you like to play it during your Fright Night? So I had about 3 or 4, pretty much world premieres or Canadian premieres of these movies, feature films. And they had nowhere to go. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just roll it, instead of doing one every month, because I just did one feature in a shorter month, I'll roll it out over one weekend. And it was going to be called Fright Nights Blood in the Snow Weekend. It was like a Canadian themed weekend. And I mentioned it to one of the filmmakers, and they're like, well, that sounds like a film festival. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll call it that. And then, so it was really just a one-off of, let's just show these. I had these films. So the films came first.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what am I going to do with these films. They're really cool films. They belong, because to give your audience some context, especially back then, wasn't, if you didn't get into Toronto Dark or Fantasia, there wasn't a lot of options in Canada.
No,
for independent Canadian, and because they're both international festivals, they would only play a couple of.
One could make an argument that still stands a little bit here and there too.
It's improved a little bit. There's definitely been other ones that have come up. But it's it's not, certainly not at a certain level. They're a bit more DIY kind of festivals. I would
absolutely.
Say. I'm not dissing them, but that's just what they are.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and so it is kind of and so it's kind of we by having an all Canadian festival, genre festival, it kind of gave a lot more openings and like that too. And so the November thing, that just happened to be when the next thing was, and I didn't obviously want it to compete with Toronto After Dark in October. So I'll do it in November. I mean, I honestly didn't even come up with it until September.
It's a great festival, but it's a great festival name. Like it's like Blood in the Snow. Like
I came up with it in the shower. One of the filmmakers came up with the logo for it for me, and it was just like, and it was like I think I went on stage for opening night of it, and I went, the first thing I said was, this didn't exist 10 weeks ago. Like the idea of it even didn't exist. So it all came together. But I didn't even have a programming team that year.
Yeah.
I had 5 volunteers that kind of helped at the door. One of the jokes that one of my programmers, who was one of the first volunteers, Melanie Turner, we joked our closing night party was a bunch of us standing in the lobby going, do you guys all want to get a beer? And there's one photo from closing night where there's 11 people sitting at a table having a drink on closing night. And then now it's like this. We have a DJ and there's hundreds of people, and we have our own Bits branded beer now. Like there are hundreds of people at this area, and we always laugh because it was 11 people.
I know it's amazing. Well, no, that's
like, do you want to go do something?
But that's just a credit to just the passion and how amazing the festival has been to kind of help filmmakers and kind of help especially in Canada, like people that just love horror films as well. Because that's my next question. Because I think Blood in the Snow does a very good job at this. It's interesting, right? Because the film festival will always have 2 types of kind of participants, right? The filmmakers and the fans of the films, right? I think. Right. I find it very interesting because you have, the conference Deadly Exposure has a lot of incredible panels that people can kind of check out as well. But you also have an amazing kind of lineup of short films and horror films that, aren't even out yet or might not even have distribution or release dates that people can kind of check out early on. Is it a tug of war ping pong match kind of in terms of kind of the marketing and creation of the festivals, kind of making it worth it for filmmakers and horror movie fans? Like I find that very interesting because there's 2 like audiences, right? If you think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't affect. I wouldn't say it affects the programming. Like I think a programming kind of like it just kind of like that. And we keep that very
the more the marketing and how to get it out there.
It's kind of like I think there's kind of like that too because we're kind of marketing. Yeah, we're really kind of marketing 2 events at once, like you're saying. Like, we have the Deadly Exposure event at one venue. And then we have, and that's another one example of something that happened kind of by accident too. That happened about 7 years ago. We did the first one for that, and we did a couple of panels before that. But one thing I noticed on the Q&As on stage was filmmakers were going, "Well, how did this come about?" I said, "Well, actually, we met at your festival last year, and I met this actor because he was in this film, and it's like I was realizing, oh wow, they're coming here and they're networking and they're doing this organically, and I didn't plan this."
Yeah.
Especially because it's Canadian only, I think that really kind of ups the industry side of it. And so I'm like, well, we should formalize this and actually make it into its own event. So it's interesting. So yeah, you do have some people. There are people that are just like hardcore film buff people that just come to the fest that have never gone to an industry thing ever. And then there's industry people that really honestly don't come to the fest. And then I would say the majority though kind of jump back and forth. Like
because the lineup is so amazing. It's fantastic. And it's interesting because I've seen some of these films before. Like some of them were at Screamfest and Vancouver Horror Show, but a lot of them I haven't seen. And I wanted to kind of talk about the lineup. Some notables that come to mind, and you could talk about them, but you could also talk about ones that you're excited for and everything. But, you have some really cool features like Scared Shitless, which is a really fun, exciting, really fun film. Viviano Caldellini directs that. You have, Pins and Needles, starring Chelsea Clark from Ginny and Georgia, which is a good one. You also have Creepy Bits, which is a bunch of short horror films that's really cool. And then your short horror lineup has some really cool ones, specifically The Sorrow featuring Nee Do as well. So those are the ones I'm excited for. Tell me a little bit about the lineup specifically, even if I've missed some or other ones that you can tell us about. I think those are the ones that I'm excited about. So, but there's others too.
Yeah, I am too. And the thing was really neat about the lineup as a whole is that this was the first year the entire programming team wanted all 8 of those features. There's always like those kind of split decisions and stuff like that. So the way it works is the films come in, and we have 3 or 4 programmers watch it, and then if they all say yes, then we'll kind of like bring in the rest of everyone and we'll look at it. And we were looking at the lineup, and we had 8 slots for features, and then 5 shorts programs, and we're like all 8 of us liked all 8 of the films. That was like there was no everything else after that was like split decisions, and it might be like 6 out of 8 or something like that. I mean, the 2 of them are maybes or something like that, but it was really kind of exciting. So I feel like there's not any bubble films this year. I feel like everything is like really across the board. It'll be interesting if the audience feels the same as we do. Yeah. But we really feel like there wasn't really kind of any like that. But yeah, some of the other ones that are really exciting me. There's a film called Invited that's playing on Thursday night, and it all takes place during a Zoom call. Mm-hmm. And it's just this is very, very. It's probably our most creepy.
You've seen Host, right? Remember Host on Shudder?
Yeah.
So like that a little bit
like that. Yeah, probably that too. But Navin Ramaswaran, who I've worked with, full disclosure, I've worked with as a producer on a couple of films. He was able to bring a lot of cinematic qualities to it that it's not as static as it sounds. Yeah, it really kind of within the shots. It's kind of like it's very suspenseful because you don't know what's really going to happen and stuff like that. And there's a really nice build up to it. Mm-hmm. So that one's kind of unique. There's like that too. I think Dark Match, our opening film, is going to be a lot of fun with Chris Jericho. I like that too. I really kind of like I really kind of personally handle a lot of the scheduling, and I kind of wanted to begin and end the festival like really fun. So opening with, because Dark Match is basically like a zombie, not a zombie, but like a possessed wrestling film basically. Yeah. And kind of that too, and just where basically two people go in, only one come out, and like that too. But it's also got a real fun quality, and Lowell Dean, who will be in attendance for it, is the director, and of course he did Wolf Cop, and he also did Super Grid that played Bits a few years ago as well. Yep. It was really good, and so I think it was a fun way. And then bookending that with Scared Shitless is obviously a fun horror comedy. That's kind of good.
There's a rumor too that you have like this creepy motel short that's gonna be playing right before Pins and Needles.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, this is the full disclosure. This is one that you've
no, we're honored. It's an honor and privilege to be screening at Blood in the Snow. When we were putting together our lineup, this was one that we really wanted to be in. So the fact that we're going to be part of the festival this year is incredible. We're so excited about it.
And that's fun too, because it's neat having you on talking about your film. Your film, joining and also doing press and media stuff like that, because we all do wear different hats and stuff like that. Like I was talking about, I've been a film, I've been a film producer. Yeah. I've been a film writer and kind of thing like that, and then mostly just running the festival now. Yeah, and it's interesting kind of thing, and I think that's one of the interesting things is seeing people come to the festival like yourself that are creatives, but also do media and then do business side of things. And
well,
stuff like
it's so crazy. They kind of feed into each other too, and I find it interesting because you say you do producing as well, and like you're a festival director. With me, it's like it started as like just a podcast. Then during the pandemic, it became like a full media outlet because everyone was home, right? So my views had quadrupled. And then it's like I established a media outlet. And what ended up happening was, I would collaborate and make films with people that I met who were guests on my show. Like that's literally what it is.
But that's how it happened for me too. See, the fest started in 2012, and Navin, who I was talking about, who directed Invited, was the editor of the first feature we played that year. And then we started working together, and we did a short called One More for the Road, and then we did a feature anthology film called Late Night Double Feature a couple years later. And all the other people, if you look at all the people that, like, I had programmers that did the cameos in it. I had like all these people. Half the people that worked on it either worked on a film that played the fest or worked at the festival, or have worked with them since, kind of thing like that. Like it's like, so it's really interesting to see that kind of thing, because so I think that kind of why. And so going back full circle about what you're asking about, the difference between the I guess the public audience and then the filmmakers. I don't really see much of a difference.
Yeah, we all love it. We all love it. We all watch all the movies too, if you think about it.
Yeah, they do, and I think like that. Everyone's kind of there to support, and it's a festival too. I will say, I don't think I could do in the States. Yeah, because kind of like that too, not just Canadian only, but just the attitude about it. Because I talked to festival directors in the States, and just the culture is different. Where filmmakers tend to kind of like, I've literally been in screenings in New York where they'll watch their short film and then get up and leave when the short's done. Yeah, and that rarely happens at our thing. That and the filmmakers not only will stick around for their program, but they'll also go, I also want to check out this person's film. I also want to check it out for that. So it's much more collaborative. And I don't think I could do this unless the filmmakers were supporting each other's work.
100%. It's interesting,
but it's like it's competitive, but not, you know, but more of a like.
And Adjoining's in a cool situation because we're a Canadian film, because all the filmmakers are Canadian, but we actually, you know, went and shot in North Hollywood with like Bretta D'Amico and like Harrison and Dakota, who are also actors who have been in, like, Dakota was just in Long Legs as an actor as well. They're Vancouver directors, right? So it's cool to also see these opportunities now that horror is becoming so big. And like, you know, I remember sending the script to Brenda D'Amico, who's in Descendants films on Disney Channel, and she loved it. She wanted to be part of it. She was available and she did it. And it's kind of like what you said, like people love the genre as fans these days too, and they want to be part of it.
And what's neat too is that your film's not. We actually opened it up quite a few years ago to have, like, I guess, an international component. So even though we're Canadian only, we love playing films like yours where there are people from around the world that are.
It's a tough one. Like it's both technically, right? Because it's Canadian production companies, but we shot it in the United States, right? So it counts as both, but like we're Canadian filmmakers. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so to explain to your audience, what happens is we keep it. There is a separate category that we play, and we mix them in when they're programming every year. Is that we'll have, it could be a director, say they're working in LA and they do a project there, and then they send it up to. Or it could be like there's like it's Canadian film, but they shot it in the States. It's like there's a lot of different variables, and like what yours is just kind of a mix of everything. It's kind of like that too. It's fun to see that and then see them come up. The only challenging, actually, it worked okay this year, but the only challenging time is that I didn't anticipate because basically we're like the third week of November, but generally that's when the American Thanksgiving is.
Yes,
and so. One of the hard parts is that I believe it's a week later this year, but most times the Thursday falls on during bets.
Yes.
And a lot of people who do want to come up from the States, they're like, oh, I'd love to, but it's during the American Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of going on too. And again, this is why it happened so haphazard.
Some of those Americans might be here for something else happening that weekend too, if you think about it.
Yeah. That's been a really strange.
We're just gonna go past that, right?
All the Swifties, like that.
No, if you think about it, if they can't get into any Taylor Swift after parties, they can come to Blood in the Snow.
Well, we're counting on that. Yeah, we're gonna have a little van going around the Rogers Center. No, it's just like the friendship bracelet gets you 25% off tickets.
No, for sure. Blood in the Snow and Toronto, Ontario, Canada, a horror movie festival. So exciting. Kicks off November 18th, which is really exciting. Kelly, so great chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Do you want to quickly plug, festival passes are still available, right?
Yeah, festival passes are still available as we speak. November 8th. So it's November 18th to the 23rd at the Isabel Bader Theatre, which is right downtown Toronto. Very easy to get to, right across from the ROM.
Yep.
And we have a whole bunch of things like that. We have the festival passes. We even have a short film pass, which I recommend, which will give you like a nice little sampler of a lot of the short programs that we have. We have a panel pass where you can just check out some of the industry panels. We've got some really, we didn't get to talk about that, but there's like some really great industry panels that will be on Friday.
You have the In a Violent Nature people, which is amazing. Yeah. One of the most important horror films. If you think about it, if you think from the business perspective too, like how important that film is going to go down in terms of like how it was made and where it's gone is insane. If you think about it.
Well, that's why I wanted to have it. I wanted a panel that was really about inspiration because there's not a lot of, from a business perspective, there's not a lot of them that can really say that they've broken, especially in the U.S. market, and have people like Stephen King who are a fan and make $4.5 million at the box office. That's just unheard of for a Canadian genre film. And so I really wanted to end this is the last panel on the Saturday of the 23rd, and I really wanted to end the panels with that, just to show some inspiration. Hey, this can be done. Because I've known the people that like that, Peter Perkowski, who runs Midnight Madness and will be taking to After Dark, and Sharon Hammer, who is a programmer for After Dark as well, are both the main producers. They'll be there. The DOP will be there. And Ry Barrett, who's been an alumni of our festival from day one. He's played more films than anyone who's ever played our festival. I mean, he's been like the breakthrough. He's been going to like San Diego Comic-Con and like signing autographs. And it was like he's become like, he's got a little cottage industry of being heavy in this now. And so it's so great to see his career blow up from this. So I'm really excited by that. I really hope people come out and talk to them kind of like that too, because I thought that was a real inspiration.
I'll be there on the Saturday. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be fun. And Instagram.
You can get tickets. Yeah, you can get tickets at bloodinthesnow.ca. It's there. Our social media handles are Bits Film Fest for Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff. So there's lots of things we're very easy to find.
And you're at Kelly Michael Stewart, just in case people want to check it out.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Pop Turnitive. YouTube.com/Pop Turnitive for previous episodes. Till next time, this is Blood in the Snow Festival Director Kelly Michael Stewart and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Turnitive. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Turnitive on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.